Bodies comes out June 11th, a few months from now. Please, everybody in the chat and everybody at home, welcome to the stream, Davey Havok. Hey,
Wow.
Davey.
Hi, John.
How you doing today?
I am well. How is this? Is this backlighting too much?
Oh, no. I think you are actually positioned perfectly where you block out the sun.
Yes, I tend to do that. People confuse me with the sun often, and it's in fact me just blocking the sun.
You're just your future's just too bright for everybody, you know?
Is it? Mm-hmm. John, you like heavy metal?
I do. I love heavy metal. Big heavy metal fan.
Have you ever heard of Neurosis?
Yes.
Oh,
of course. I love Neurosis.
Okay.
Are you a big Neurosis fan?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
What are some of your favorite metal bands?
Neurosis.
Neurosis.
Yeah.
You ever seen them in concert?
Oh yeah, of course. We're both from Oakland. They're a generation ahead of, well, AFI started 2 hours north of the Bay Area, but we really came up in Berkeley and Oakland, and Neurosis was a generation ahead of us, and I used to see them all the time at Gilman Street, the club that we came out of many years ago. But Neurosis, listeners, is one of the best bands ever. I'm not very metal. I have huge respect for heavy metal, but when we get into heavy metal, Neurosis is where I go. I like.
Oh, really cool.
I mean, honestly, I like what is usually derided as hair metal quite a bit.
Same. I'm also a big hair metal / glam fan.
Yeah. I mean, glitter rock for sure, but if you get into, I really enjoy the first Motley Crue record.
Oh, yeah. Too Fast for Love.
Of course. Which, is it
Great
really
album.
Called Too Fast for Love? I think it's not.
I believe it is.
Or is it? Okay. I thought for a while it was self-titled, and then I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe it's one of those things where they released it, and then after some time they renamed it.
Changed it.
Yeah, they totally could have. I'm sure they had something
We were
to do with that.
We were talking about best album covers of all time, and it made me recall that they just took a Rolling Stones cover and kind of made it
from Sticky
more edgy.
Fingers, right?
Yeah.
I think that was probably the coolest part about it for me when I first got to see it. When I was I got into all this music around the same time at age like 15, 16.
That's odd because you're so youthful.
Well, thank you.
So young and handsome. So for you to get into that late, how do you even? I guess
that was a thing. Because I also got into AFI around that time as well, because I believe at my school, in my high school, I was one of the minority in my music tastes, really. Everybody really loved their pop music, rap music, hip-hop music at the time, obviously, and I still love some of that as well. But me and my friends, like I believe my friend Brian took me to his house and he was like, I got to show you this really cool thing. It's called Korn. And I was like, oh my God.
Whoa.
So that was really my introduction, that and Slipknot mostly. And then from there, it kind of all trickled out, and I found, 80s hair bands, and I found thrash metal.
So you started at metal. You started at new metal and went back. Classic metal. How do you feel about Def Leppard?
I like Def Leppard a lot. I would say, I like them a lot. I definitely respect them and their legacy. But I think in terms of the glam bands that I love, kind of towards the bottom, because I'm more of a Motley Crue kind of Poison fan.
Have you gotten into Pyromania and High and Dry and Hysteria? Okay. Because Def Leppard is really interesting to me because they get categorized as that hair glam, which of course would Pour Some Sugar on Me, and they have that macro production with Hysteria. But they're heavy metal, man.
Yeah.
They have, those riffs, it's not too far from Judas Priest.
You're right.
You really listen to what's going on with Def Leppard.
They definitely could occupy the same space. I always wonder why they are kind of lumped in with a Motley Crue, because I know they, even before COVID began and stuff, Motley Crue planned a stadium tour, and it was Motley Crue, it was Def Leppard,
Poison.
and Poison, and Joan
I was
Jett.
going.
Oh, you were going? Oh, man.
Yeah.
In LA?
Yeah. Well, yeah, in LA. It was LA. It was just outside of LA. I think it was going to be in Carson. My father was going to fly in, and my brother and I and he were going to go because my father took me to see those shows in the 80s.
Oh, that's so cool.
I saw all of those.
Oh my God.
Those shows that, all those bands.
Yeah, I bet being in California at that time must have been really something.
Yeah, but a lot of Poison was from Jersey.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And Crew was from LA, and
Mm-hmm.
Def Leppard was British. But yeah, I think Def Leppard got lumped in. You know, I can actually relate to this in a lot of circumstances with AFI specifically.
Yeah.
I think Def Leppard got lumped into those bands because they were just being played on MTV and on the radio
At the
aside
time.
them. So people equated them as the same thing simply because they saw them at the same time. Whereas if you listen to it, it's not.
It's just different.
It's just different.
And
the genes are different.
I would like to pivot off this too.
Let's pivot.
To talk a little bit about AFI, considering that 2021 formed in 1991. You're going 30 years strong with the band, which is such an incredible achievement. And first of all, congratulations, because that's amazing to stay.
Thank you, John.
So relevant.
Yeah, we started
and so
when
powerful.
I was 2 years old.
2 years old.
As a 2-year-old, I thought we
right.
did pretty well for. I mean, the first record came out when I was 2.
Wow,
So.
that's a crazy achievement. Did you make it from the crib, or did you were you out of the crib at the
in
time?
utero? Actually, I did a
Wow.
lot of writing in utero.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So the recording
So
process really just took before birth. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Well, we recorded after. A lot of the writing was in utero.
Wow. I'm
A lot of isolation yet comfort. It's
right. Yeah. Kind of. You kind of can relate it to a 2020 pandemic kind of writing binge.
Kind
a
of like
little bit,
that,
right?
Yeah. Some codependency going on.
Right. But yeah, 30 years. It's crazy. I want you to, if you could, speak a little bit about the formation of the band, like how you guys really just got it started. Because I remember, well, what I've heard in like the early 90s, it's a very different AFI than we know now in terms of sound.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's technically half different. The original lineup was myself, Adam Carson, who's still an original member of the band, and then our friend Vic Chalker played bass, and our friend Mark played guitar, and we started in the summer of 1991 out of love of punk rock. And we lived in a really small town, and we were in high school, and we loved the music, and we were informed by so many artists that came what seemed like generations and generations before us, but looking back in time now, it had been, we had just missed these bands by 4 or 5 years. And, the artists from DC and the artists from LA, all of the early hardcore and early punk rock that inspired us, showed us you didn't have to know how to play. You didn't have to be on a label. You didn't have to have talent. At least they told us. They were all very talented, but especially the DC labels with Discord showing us the do-it-yourself ethic in that community caused us to say, well, fuck it, we should just start a band, and we did, and we couldn't play for years. We tried, and none of us knew how to play our instruments. I called dibs on singing. Mark called dibs on guitar.
Right.
Nick called dibs on bass. We said, who should we get to play drums? And they said, do you know Adam Carson? And I said, I don't know, maybe. And we walked over to this other section of the school, said, hey, we just started a band. Do you want to play drums? And he said yes. And that's how it went. And we went from there. But it was a very different era, as you know. It was so it was 1991.
Right.
So just to be clear for the listeners, that's pre Green Day breaking into the mainstream. So there, Nirvana, I think Nirvana had happened, right? But that had really nothing to do with
Nirvana
us.
Nirvana was kind of tweening. They were on their way, I think.
It was about to happen.
Yeah, it was
right?
about to happen, I believe, like with the early
because
grunge.
I feel like AFI had already started before Nirvana hit MTV. I remember vividly seeing, I was sitting at I was with the person I was seeing, and we were sitting on a couch at their parents' house watching MTV, and I remember seeing Eddie Vedder, who I didn't know his name at the time, do some sort of like kind of stage dive sort of thing, not really though, and thinking, oh fuck, it's really all over now. First they were wearing all the people that wouldn't talk to us and made fun of us are now wearing Doc Martens, and now this person just kind of faked a stage dive. It's done. And it was.
Wow.
That was right. But on we went.
What else can you do, right?
What else can you do? So we kept doing our thing, and that's how AFI started. I mean, I could go on and on about that era, but that was 30 years ago, and we went through many changes, lineup changes. So the AFI today has been the AFI that most people know. Jade Puget, our newest member, who is my partner in Black Audio and Extremist, joined in 1998. Hunter joined in 1997. All those additions to the band really all of those, both of those members, those gentlemen who joined the band, were really responsible for part of the growth. And we've just been growing as humans and songwriters and individuals for decades. And here we are. We're still here, and I'm talking to you. And John, it's a wild thing. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
It's really because I don't feel entirely different than I did when I started when I was 15 years old. I feel a lot of the I feel a lot like the same person in many ways. I feel very different, but I'm really grateful. If you would have told me, first of all, this forum is completely shocking and impossible at some sort of
the internet
manifest. The internet there was
general.
no internet, there video, but talking to you now 30 years later, talking to Rolling Stone ever, forget it. Like, not a possibility, not even not a hope, not a chance.
Right.
No way did we ever, because when we were doing this, when we dedicated ourselves to being in a band, we dedicated ourselves to living on the fringes. When we never expected our music to reach as many people as it has. And certainly that was a hope, but we didn't think it was a possibility because the type of music that we played was by no means accepted by the mainstream.
Right. It wasn't popular mainstream music at the time. And it wasn't even, especially with your stuff in the 90s too, it never really, I feel like that genre specifically never really got to mainstream status as huge as like a grunge did or as like a glam metal did or anything like that.
Yeah, you're right. Only in some strange kind of modern way can you look back and see those, like now when a lot of those bands reunite, they're huge, but never at the time. It really, things really changed. And artistically we just continued growing, and then suddenly for whatever reason the mainstream decided they liked what we did. So
it just it was really a stars aligned moment.
As many
to
things
get
are.
that. Yeah, I'm sure. And I really
are.
love that, what you said about kind of changing a little bit and growing your sound, but also kind of remaining the same in a lot of ways. And that's, what drove us in the beginning still drives us now, which is our love of music and our love of creation, and that never changed. We've always taken joy in what we do and making music and pushing ourselves and finding new aspects of our creation to inspire us in a cyclical way. And here we are 30 years later, you and me. Here we are. John and Davey, like how it all
Here
began.
We are. Destiny. You are my destiny, and you will play me someday.
That's right. In a rock off
film.
In your biopic.
In my biopic.
I'll start growing my
some
hair.
Extensions. Yeah,
I know, boy, do I. I even tried to straighten my hair when I was 15, and it wouldn't even do that. It would just exploded outwards more so.
Oh yeah.
Just some. Real professional chemicals are needed for that.
Sometime in the 90s, there was a hypothermic Japanese technique that came to the States. I'm sure it's now obsolete, but that was what I did. I would sit and for hours in the salon, and they would straighten my hair, and it was supposed to last a year, but with my hair, with my hair would last like 4 months.
I totally remember of hearing about this. I remember when I was maybe like 16, I would be like, "Mom, I hate my hair. I want to get it straightened." She would be like, "Oh, there's this thing that they do at the salon, and it takes a few hours, but for a year, it'll just be straight." So I remember hearing about it and whatnot.
I got into that. It doesn't work for us, John.
Yeah, no, it's not for us.
It doesn't work for our type of our hair. I know. You got to have like wavy hair, not just voluminous hair.
That's right. And also, I wanted to know, speaking of AFI through the years and how you got along from album to album, I'm wondering, because you specifically, Davey, experienced quite a vocal change between early AFI to then 2003 to then 2006 and then where you are now. I want to ask a little bit about that first change that you experienced in your vocals from the early, more punkish kind of vibe to then coming into 2003 with songs like Girls Not Gray and having that big, as a listener, like a big seismic shift. I mean, some like maybe for the better, but it was something different. But how did you go about that vocally? Like was there something that you had to do? Was it always in you? Did you train to take more of a melodic tone?
I didn't train at all. In fact, it's interesting that you ask it in that way because I began singing. Like my before AFI, I was a singer of sorts, not a professional. I'm not saying I was highly trained or, very good at it. But my grandfather, when I was a baby, he would sing to me, so I would sing with my grandfather. I did musical theater before I started at AFI. And singing and crooning-ish has been part of my life for a long time. My choir teacher in high school when AFI started would berate me because I would come and my voice would be destroyed. And to class, and he'd say, you need to sing properly. And to me, at that time, playing hardcore, I thought as a child, as a very, very dumb child, if I'm not damaging myself during the show physically, both vocally and physically, I didn't do my job. I didn't put on a good show.
Oh, yeah. You definitely hear that all the time these days.
I felt like I wasn't really putting myself into the performance and that I wasn't, feeling it enough if I didn't come out harmed. And I didn't wean myself away from that vocal because of the physical harm. That actually wasn't the beginning of it for me. It was just a natural artistic inclination that I had because screaming is singular. Yelling and screaming is singular, and it doesn't really allow for nuance in the expression of emotion. And so as I felt a need to express myself greater and in greater ways, I felt that actually singing and adding melody to the music allowed for that and allowed for more nuance and allowed for more subtlety and allowed for more expression. Plus, it's more fun for me. So as I grew as a performer and a songwriter, it just became less compelling to only yell.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And also the emotions that I were trying to express became more far-reaching. At the beginning, we were just a hardcore band. And not to diminish hardcore at all. When I don't mean just, we were singularly a hardcore band. I have great respect for hardcore, and I love hardcore. And without punk rock and hardcore, I wouldn't be who I am. And I very much identify with the values that those communities instilled upon me. And but musically speaking, it became it just became less exciting for me to perform. And so that's how the melody started to be infused into AFI pretty early on. And actually, there was a moment when Jade Puget joined the band in 1998 where he sat down and we had just released Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes, which was a very aggressive record. And he said, why don't we add some of the melody back in that was on the previous records? And I said, yeah, let's do that. And that's kind of where it began. And when you hear that record, there's little moments of melody in it, not much, but more so than the previous record. You hear God Called in Sick Today, which I think is a really good starting point to see when Jade joined the band. And with God Called in Sick Today, specifically on that record, you see what is to come of us if you check out that song. And then it's interesting. And then speaking of The Art of Drowning, which is very, very infused with melody, at some point recently, I don't know why, and by recently I mean past 5 years, I think I had to learn a song off that record that we were playing live for some reason.
Oh my God, you had to relearn it back for a live show?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
it's there's so many records, so many
I
years
know.
have
I'm
gone
sure
by.
for really like hardcore fans, that must be great though. When you break one of those songs out live from like 2000 or 1999, they must love
It's
that.
it's a really interesting thing to see how those songs react because at this point we have so many different generations of people seeing us.
Yeah.
So chances are that there aren't a lot of people who, if we were to play a song off the first record, are actually in the audience because they're home with their grandchildren. But sometimes they do get good reactions. And the Art of Drowning, I was listening to. It's a really interesting record to harken back to what we were talking about before. In listening to it again in modern times, I realized I have no idea what genre of music that is. Not that I have any idea of what genre of music AFI is, but specifically that record. It's really interesting. And I think I remember at the time the reviews that were coming out for it, the very few reviews. They referenced Motley Crue a lot.
Oh yeah.
And us sounding like Motley Crue.
It is a very
And-
interesting crossroads, I think, between old stuff to new stuff. I mean, it is like the last album. I consider like that the first 5 albums like a series of 5 where you really just had this one sound, but you had little glimmers kind of going through them of like, okay, like there's something else going on. And then over in 2003, Sing the Sorrow kind of really ran with that, I thought, after these.
I honestly, John, if you the first 5 records are pretty. The first 2 are somewhat similar, but then the third gets different, and then the fourth is quite different from the third, and then the fifth, that Art of Drowning,
Yeah.
that's not that. That's I don't know what that is.
It's it occupies a different space, for
right.
sure.
And what Art of Drowning, interestingly, really what Sing the Sorrow is Art of Drowning with time.
With time plus time.
Yeah, plus Art of Drowning plus tools and time and support. Because the Sing the Sorrow record is what I believe what we were striving for with our Art of Drowning, but then suddenly we had all of these resources at our disposal, and time and a studio and producers and equipment, and that's what that was a record that we were trying to achieve for years. That's what we were working toward, and especially with Art of Drowning. So that's really the shift. That's when you hear Sing the Sorrow, what you're hearing is you're hearing us being given all these resources that we hadn't had prior. So we were able to really take the time to create what we had been trying to create to an extent. And then, from there on, you're hearing artistic growth within that forum of having, more resources.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds, I will say, I do very much appreciate the versatility of the sounds that you have been able to create over your career and over the course of AFI's career as well. And even talking about all of that and the first 5 albums and also Sing the Sorrow, I would love to chat with you a little bit about your newest album that's forthcoming.
Oh yes,
Bodies.
We do have, what is it, our 11th album?
I
What is
know. Yeah, I must be something up there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's I've noticed that y'all have been releasing a few like dual singles for it. You released about 6 songs so far. I'm very interested in all of them. Dulceria, to me, sí, señor, is specifically very interesting to me because to me personally, I know everybody has different opinions about different music, but to me personally, I got a real big disco kind of dance vibe from it, and which I really loved. And I would love if you could talk to me a little bit about creating your new material in that way.
Absolutely. I definitely hear the dance vibe in that song. It does have a little bit of a funk element to it. And Lindsay Parker said it reminded her of Duran Duran a touch. And I hear that as well. Specifically, that song is the first song that we as AFI have ever collaborated on. So the distinct direction that you hear in that song began with Billy Corgan when he and Jade sat down and started writing the music to that. And I came into the session, and really my input on that are those lyrics. That song, I watched Jade and Billy write. Billy wrote the top line, and man, John, I could not be happier with that song. I really think it is a beautiful piece, and I think it fits us very well. Of course, we were a part of its creation, but we had never been inclined to collaborate with anybody before. But because we have such respect for Billy,
Yeah.
that when he offered, we jumped at the opportunity and we took it. And I am so thrilled with how that song came out. I really feel that it fits with us very well, and that it flows with the Body's record very well, which has other elements of ethereal moments, other elements that are dancey, though less in a disco way and more in a post-punk way.
Yeah, I could definitely
pop way.
I could definitely get that too, because especially just given the variety of the singles that you've been releasing with the 6 songs. Like I know, like I listened to like Dulceria, and that's for some reason it is the same band, but it's like it sounds so different than, for example, like Twisted Tongues.
Sure.
And it's just like it sounds like a great like two sides of the same coin kind of principle there.
Thank you. Yeah, there are elements of Dulceria, throughout AFI, and there are elements of Twisted Tongues. We have so many influences, each as individuals and then as a band, and we really don't like, and haven't for decades now, limited ourselves to one side of a coin. We're a whole change purse of different currency from around the world, mostly England, I would say, despite being a California band. But
whole shilling lot of
a whole booty. A whole booty, John. I don't like it. I don't know if the viewers can see this, but every once in a while it just shifts to me, and it's disconcerting. I just suddenly you disappear, and I feel alone, and I'm like talking to myself. There it is. It's doing it again. I hate it.
My voice is here. I have not deserted you. If you need me to call out
John,
to you,
don't leave me.
Davey,
don't leave me. But as far as Bodies goes, it is a dynamic record, as we typically put out. Actually, I would love to do a record that has one mood to it. I think that would be really fun to do at some point. This is not that. There's a lot of rising and falling within this record, and it's right now. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite AFI record right now. As time goes on, that could change, but
that's great to hear.
I just haven't been happier with an AFI record. I'm just so thrilled with it, and I think it really perfectly represents who we are and all the facets of who we are. And I think the performances on it are really beyond, as far as we're concerned. Certainly not in relation to any other acts. You can get into that.
I love hearing that from artists, and about their new music, and kind of picturing it as, oh wow, like this is like something I've never done before, and this is something that I love, and I've never loved making an album more than I have this one. So that's wonderful to hear.
Thanks, John.
From somebody that's been just putting out great songs and great music for as long as you have, to just like even the newest thing you're a big fan of, which is incredible.
Thank you. I mean, we'd have to be. Or else why bother?
Exactly. Why bother at that point, right?
Yeah, why bother?
Right. And Davey, also, I wanted to ask you kind of one more big question. I do know that, Fred Mascherino from Color Fred and Taking Back Sunday, he has said that out of all the bands that he saw as a musician, that AFI was the best live performance he has ever seen.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you, Fred.
I was wondering, what do you think contributes to that legacy of your live shows, and also what kind of philosophy do you take into your performances before you do them?
That's really kind of Fred to say that. I'm glad he caught us on an on night, I suppose. It's hard to say how people react to what we do, and why people react to what we do, but for me, the live performance is what being in the band is about. It's why it's difficult right now for me emotionally to put out this record, which is my favorite AFI record right now. at a period of time where we can't go and perform it.
I know, and you can really dance to it, of course. Right?
And you can move and you can experience it, and it's that experience and that exchange of energy with the audience that has always driven me. It's why we started the band initially in 1991, was to go play shows and to go experience that exchange of energy and that community, and it's always been about that. Thereby, when we do perform, you know, I'm not saying, you know, when we will perform on this album, but whenever we do perform, we really put everything into the show emotionally. And at least speaking for myself, my performance is a reaction to the music and a reaction to really the words I'm singing as well, which come from a very honest place. And for better or worse, I am being very truthful in what I say and what I put out there, as far as my contribution to the band goes. And I think because we are all of us in AFI are also honest about what we do and passionate about what we do, and we believe in what we do, that is evident in our performance and our reaction to the music. And I think people react to that, whether it's on a conscious level or a subconscious level, and they react very viscerally during the show. So, you know, if people enjoy our performance, it has a lot to do with them. You know, it's so,
of course.
You know, to get that sort of review, you know, we rely on that energy exchange and that reaction. So I don't know if I answered the question. It's hard to answer that question. It's hard to answer. It's hard to say why.
No, I completely understand. I mean, it's a tough one because, you know, all the praise and all like all the fanfare behind it, and not being able to go up and perform live for the past year, I know must have been quite tough given how much heat you guys bring in your live performances.
Well, thank you. I'm okay. I'm okay with not performing all the time.
Yeah.
But when the new music comes out, I really have the urge to perform it at some point, which we will. Which, you know, at some point this will all begin again, and we will be playing those songs, and I will enjoy it.
And also, Davey, the chat has been really blowing up the past 45 minutes or so. A lot of your fans are here. They're all really, really excited to see you.
Hello.
Davey says
hello,
hi.
chat people.
A lot of questions have been popping up. I don't have time to get through many, but one of them, kind of a lot early on in our conversation, was about, you know, you doing all these creative things, writing music, writing books, musicals at even some periods. Do you have any medium that you'd like to get into, or anything that you'd like to give it a try?
Absolutely. There's all sorts of things I'd love to do. Well, first and foremost, I'd love to get back on stage and on Broadway. I'd love to act in theater again, or on screen. That would be great. My fine art skills are nil. I was thinking about that. I think about this all the time. I would love to be able to paint. I would love to be able to draw. I cannot. I was looking through stacks of old lyrics that I found from decades ago, and I saw I did used to doodle in the studio. I forgot about that back when there were studios, and back when there were these like sheets of paper that you used to write on and write lyrics on. It was crazy. And on those sheets of paper, I also would doodle. But fine art would be something I'd love to get involved in. I certainly wish I spoke every language. I speak 1.5 languages, so I'd like to learn that.
What's the half?
Español.
Sí.
Sí.
I speak un poquito español, maybe a quarter of a language there.
40.
Sí.
Hay mucha gente en California que habla español.
Sí, en California.
Si es necesario puedo hablar español. There are a lot of fine arts I'd love to learn. I'd love to be a photographer. I'd love to be able to draw, to paint, to sculpt. I would love to be better writer. I'd love to be better at all of the things I do. Countless. So
Really cool.
yes, name it. Jewelry. Like to make jewelry. Furniture. That would be fucking cool if I could make
Right.
furniture.
A wood carver. Yes.
These hands, though.
Those are hand model hands. You can't.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to get into some hand model influencing.
And also, Davey, there is another question from the chat that I had to ask you.
It's very serious.
There are a lot of people asking this. I'm not too sure why, but they want to know if
Seems very important.
I can't wait, John.
they really want to know if you like wasabi peas.
Interesting. Pain peas. Yes.
Oh, wow. There you go, chat.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You'll get those on the flight to Japan, I believe.
Yes. I did
And
fly
the
to
little-
Japan one time. They did give me wasabi peas, and to be honest, they gave me the best miso soup I've ever had. Was on that plane.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
You're kidding me.
Yeah, nuts.
What airlines was that? I guess
it was-
are we gonna do an ad for?
Yeah, for JAL,
JAL?
Japan Airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was JAL, direct flight from like New York to Tokyo, and they just, God, it hit me with the delicious foods. Oh my Lord, it was so good.
What a delight.
Yeah.
That's a rare delight.
Right?
There you go, JAL. Let's get John some more tickets to Tokyo.
Let's get a sponsorship.
Let's go together. I've got some
Let's
shopping
go.
to do. Boy.
Oh my God. Oh my God. The shopping I would do if I was back
I
there
mean,
right
the
now.
Japanese designers. That's all I.
The amount of green tea
would.
Kit Kats I'd bring home. Ugh, you wouldn't believe.
Oh, those I've never had one.
Ooh, you can probably find them
can't.
around.
I can't due to my beliefs, John.
Oh, yes, that is correct. Absolutely. Well, Davey, I unfortunately have to wrap this up for today, but I wanted to thank you so much for having such a great, candid conversation with me over the last however long, 45 minutes, and I honestly could talk to you for hours. So if you would ever
Thanks,
like
John.
to come back and join the stream, we would love to have you anytime.
I would be thrilled to come back. I had a wonderful time with you. Thank you for talking to me. I look forward to seeing your performance as me in the summer blockbuster film about me.
Yes. Can't wait.
Me too.
Well,
Me too.
thank you again, Davey, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Well, chat, everybody.